We want to, in these bills, take direct action that's cost-effective, that will have immediate and long-term benefits to get this kind of carbon out of the air, which would then reduce smog. We believe from every scientific study we've seen, it's been published, will reduce childhood asthma, and I'm a big fan of hoping to reduce adult asthma. I mean, we're producing more asthma today. It's like with type 2 diabetes. We are producing this now. Our children are being seen as asthmatics, not because there has been anything that they've done themselves, but they're living in proximity to this junk that's going out into the air. So if we can, why won't we? We will. And we've got some help that's been given by the voters of this state. We just passed a huge, huge public investment infrastructure bond. And in that will be opportunities for spending money to clean up the environment, because so much of that money is in transportation, housing, potentially green buildings for schools, and in water. And not simply flood protection, but there's a great amount of money available in Prop 84. So we want to pull all those expenditures through the prism of greenhouse gases. This isn't a beginning. This is simply we're adding on to, continuing. This state, this legislature, long before I was here and long after I'll be here, has been out in front on the issue of climate change. And I want to mention something. I know that, this morning I was listening to the radio, and people are now talking about incandescent light bulbs. So I'm really happy when we get rid of them, because I can't spell incandescent. But all of a sudden now, people are not joking. Mr. Levine had took some knocks on some of the comedy things. The fact is now, they've got professors from the University of California, Berkeley, talking about why this is important, that if you could make a complete change, you would save 10 to 12% of energy, because electricity is lights are a big user. And so, and what I like about it is, and was reminded that Nick Petras, whose seat I now hold a couple times removed, in 1972 introduced a bill to outlaw the internal combustion engine by the year 1980 or 1990. And everybody thought he was crazy. And what he was doing was, he doesn't think we're going to be outlawing this. He repeatedly, year after year, said, this is a problem. This is a problem in California because this is a state that drives more than anybody. That's the problem right there. 40% comes right off those streets and highways. So when somebody introduces a bill to ban, outlaw incandescent light bulbs, all of a sudden now, the time between guffawing and saying, geez, he may have something, is much more constricted now, because we are so much more aware. So we have the following bills. With the bonds, we have a great opportunity to establish and fund programs to reduce tons of this stuff. There is a device made in California that can be retrofitted on a tractor for a very modest amount of money that would reduce this to zero emission. It could be placed right on top of one of the 295,000 trucks that operate daily on California's roads and highways. We've also, thanks to Senator Simitian, in the bonds we have money to pay for construction equipment that is clean running. If you look at any of the construction sites around here, and if you see heavy equipment, you'll see black smoke usually being blown off unless it's a brand new piece of equipment. The older the equipment, the more likelihood. Well, those are usually taking place in compact areas where people are, kids are, you're living. So we put $100 million in for this kind of thing for building. And then finally, we've started a great program. The governor last year put money in the budget for cleaning up, retrofitting school buses, which had not been regulated. Kids are just ingesting this air all the time. The soot coming off those buses. Just get behind a school bus sometime in the Central Valley, because they have the most ancient of the fleet, and you can see the problem. So we've got money in the budget to do that. Senator Lowenthal will have a bill on that. We're going to prohibit methane gases, releases from garbage dumps, which is a major health problem, presently largely unregulated. I was pleased to see that the spokesman for Waste Management said that they were supportive of 32, and they're anxious to participate in shaping this bill, also by Senator Lowenthal. We have Senator Steinberg's carrying legislation that, and he'll explain this, but this is a pretty simple way to ensure that what we're doing with our 40% polluters will be reduced as we make these highway investments. Senator Keogh, we've heard a lot about tailpipe emissions. The governor has set a low carbon fuel standard. She will carry legislation to make sure that it is implemented in a way that protects the purpose and intent of the bill and prevents any industry backsliding, because that is the way to achieve the goals of 32 in that context. Finally, I have a bill that it will consolidate the 5 disparate agencies that deal with climate, from the Energy Commission to the PUC. It would put all of the chairs of those 5 agencies together and bring all the staff into a single place, probably the green building on 9th and N. And rather than having everybody in a silo doing something, they would be working together. Because every year we have $100 million or more in this state available for investment, for research on climate change, protections, strategies to make a difference. The problem is they are being done pretty much randomly. So what this consolidated group would do is put out annually an expenditure plan, a strategic plan. These are the kinds of things that we should be doing this year, built upon last year and perspective of next year, granting a much bigger bang for our dollar, and making sure that we're not just smearing the money all over the place so everybody's got a little money. We're making sure that people who are doing serious work have serious support. Those are the bills, not complicated, but necessary. And we want to embrace all members of either House, Republican or Democrat, to support these and others. They have a better idea, we'll be supporting it. We got to where we are today because we had cooperation in this building, from the first floor to the second floor. The governor has provided the leadership, and one thing is, as a celebrity governor, he gets attention. And that's always going to be the benefit that California will have. When he talks, when he shows up, people will be there. There are a lot more cameras in this room when he's here than when I'm here. So we recognize that. Our job is to come up with things that put California first. Let's reduce carbon emissions in California. And I would make a prediction that the same way we led this nation in the world in technological development coming out of the Silicon Valley, the same way that the biotech world is now situated in California, employing almost 100,000 people in biomed research, the next wave of industry, clean industry, will be in California. The technology's here, the brain power is here, the universities are here, and the laboratories here. You can walk right out of your R&D lab and participate in the real lab, which is the marketplace and the streets and highways of California. So we will, if by making this California first, we will be doing not only our part globally, but first do by action, and that's what we're intending to do. So I'd like, and I know this will send lots of you screaming to the exits, but we're going to just briefly go through these bills and then open up for questions. Is Senator Lowenthal here? So we've just cut it down by 2/3. Senator Keogh.
Thank you, Senator Perata, and thanks